A day in Bristol. A glance at the Bristolians, their pursuits, and characteristics, the London melee, walk to the Hot Wells, and Clifton Blackmantle and transit, start for the territories of King Bladud. The worthy Bristolians must not feel offended if we pass them by rather briefly. Had ours been a tour of business, connected with commercial pursuit instead of a search after whim and character, we should no doubt have found materials enough to have filled a dozen chapters. But such pursuits are foreign to the eccentric volumes of the English spy, whose sole aim is humor, localized, and embracing characteristic scenes. Such is the above sketch, which struck Transit and myself as we took a stroll down Bridge Street while our breakfast was preparing at the White Hart. It was a bit of true life and cannot fail to please. But after all, Bristol resembles London so closely, at least the ~293 eastern part of the metropolis, that although we saw much that would have been worthy the attention of the antiquary and the curious in their several churches and museums, or might, with great advantage, have been transferred to the notebook of the topographer, yet we met with none of that peculiar whimsical character that distinguishes the more fashionable places of resort. The sole object of the Bristolians is trade, and every face you meet with has a ledger-like countenance, closely resembling the calculating citizen of London, whose every thought is directed to the accumulation of wealth by increased sales of merchandise or the overreaching his neighbor in taking the first advantage of the market. The arrival of the London mail, which comes in about 10 o'clock in the morning, afforded Transit another opportunity of picking up what little of character there was to be found. At Bristol, there is always a great anxiety to obtain the London news and price current. So much so that the leading merchants and others assemble in front of the post office, which also joins the exchange, to wait the arrival of the mail, seaplate, and receive the letters of advice which are to regulate their concerns. It is but justice to add, there is no place in the kingdom of the same distance to which the conveyance is quicker, and the facility of delivery more promptly attended to. After breakfast, we took a stroll round the docks, and then bent our steps towards the Heights, and along the delightful walk which leads to the Hot Wells and Clifton. To attempt a just description of the magnificent and romantic scenery which surrounds Clifton, as it is viewed from the Downs, would occupy more space than our limits will allow us to devote to the beauties of landscape, and would, besides, interfere with an intention which Transit and myself have in view at some future period of our lives, namely, the making a topographical and characteristic tour through the United Kingdoms, which being divided into counties, and embracing not only the historical and the picturesque, will be enlivened by all the humorous vagaries, eccentric characters, and peculiar sports of each, written in a colloquial style, and embracing the lingual localisms, proverbs, and provincialisms of the inhabitants, thus producing a humorous but most correct view of the present state of society and manners. The materials for such a work have gradually presented themselves during the progress of the present eccentric volumes. But, as our object here has been good-humored satire joined to comic sketches of existing persons and scenes, more in the way of anecdote than history, we hope to meet with the same kind friends in a more extended work. Among those who have journeyed onwards with us through 2 years pleasantly, we must suppose, by their continued support. And profitably, we are gratefully bound to acknowledge, to all parties interested. An early dinner at Clifton and a pleasant walk back by the terrace road brought us once more into the busy streets of Bristol, where after sauntering away the time until 5 o'clock, we mounted a Bath coach and started forwards with a fresh impetus and much promise of amusement to explore the territories of King Bladud.